Another version of alien intervention in the lives of humans. However, this time they are not engaged in physical enslavement of humanity, but in the search of the soul's location. Trying to resist the invasion of his inner world, the hero accidentally flew into outer space and learned the shocking truth that the Earth is a laboratory of the gods and is flat. A night city. A man looks at his watch, both hands pointing to 12. At the same time, another man wakes up in the bathroom. He does not know who he is, where he is, or how he got there. However, he finds clothes and a suitcase full of belongings. After getting dressed, he walks out the door and knocks over an aquarium. Catching a goldfish, the man releases it into the bathtub. Opening the suitcase, he finds a postcard with the words Shell Beach in it, which awakens some memories. Suddenly the phone rings, and the man with the watch says that the hero's memory has been erased and that experiments have been conducted on him. He has to run urgently because they're already after him. At this moment, the man notices a dead woman's body covered in bloody drawings. He jumps out of his room and rushes to the stairs as a sinister-looking trio emerges from the elevator and heads for his room. The clock strikes 12 when the man descends into the hotel lobby and is surprised to see that all the people around him are asleep. But they soon wake up, and the porter calls the man by the name Murdoch and informs him that he left his wallet in the machine, and claims that he has been staying at the hotel for 3 weeks. On his way out to the boardwalk, Murdoch dumps his suitcase, while the porter goes up to his room and encounters the pale men dressed in black. He is shown an unusual syringe, asked questions about Murdoch, and then in one fell swoop is put to sleep. In the meantime, Murdoch's wife Emma sings on stage at a club. Afterwards, she receives an invitation from a certain Dr. Schreber, who informs her that he is a psychiatrist and is treating her husband for a mental disorder caused by her infidelity. Emma claims that she has not seen her husband in 3 weeks. The doctor asks the woman to treat her husband more kindly. He has had a real shock. He may now be suffering from hallucinations and violence. Therefore, Emma should call him if she meets John. At this time, there is a phone call in Inspector Frank Bumstead's house, which interrupts his musical exercises on the accordion. He soon arrives at the hotel where the murder took place. The body of a call girl, the 6th in a while, has been found. But this time they have the name of the suspect, D. Murdoch. The inspector goes up to the room, hearing the news that Detective Walensky seems to have lost his mind. John, wandering around town, suddenly remembers a wallet to pick up from a vending machine and goes to a diner with a call girl smoking at the entrance. The wallet is behind a glass door, but the man can't remember how to open it. At that moment, a couple of policemen enter the diner, and John, straining to open the door with his mind, takes the wallet. One of the policemen stops him, but the call girl comes to the rescue. Taking the man under her arm, she advises the police to look for the killer and takes John with her. Bumstead continues to look around the room and is baffled by the rescue of the fish. Would a cold-blooded killer do that? At this point, Detective Walensky runs into the room, screaming that someone is watching them all and wondering if the others notice it. The man is taken away, and Bumstead and his assistant go to Walensky's office, where they find a pile of collected evidence of some incomprehensible kind. The inspector is looking at the strange spiral-shaped prints from the crime scene when he's distracted by Emma. The woman has come to file a missing persons report on her husband. Hearing the name, Bumstead takes her to his office and informs her that John is suspected of the murders. Emma doesn't believe it. Meanwhile, John examines the pictures of his wife and documents found in his wallet. And when he sees a little girl peeking out of the next room, he leaves. Outside, he looks at the Shell Beach postcard again and finds himself under a large billboard of the place. Then he finds clippings in his pocket about the details of the murder, which he reads and becomes despondent. At this point, a man in black calls out to him and orders John to go to sleep, but he does not respond. Astonished, the enemy pulls out a knife. And then something incomprehensible happens. The wooden floor beneath the man in the cloak breaks and he flies down. The men accompanying him also take out knives, but John, with the force of his gaze, breaks the planking beneath them and they too fly down. The others are very surprised. He knows how to tune up. Meanwhile, John does get off, but manages to grab hold of the ropes and then destroys another enemy. He stares in amazement at the strange substance in the alien's head, which does not look like a brain. Then he flees the place. The action shifts to a dark hole where there are already many such aliens. They panic because Murdoch is dangerous, but the ruler of the aliens insists on catching John, otherwise they will never know his capabilities. Meanwhile, Emma catches John in the apartment. He finds the keys in his pocket and figures out where his home is. But he does not recognize her and knows nothing about the doctor or her betrayal. At this time, a messenger from the Men in Black informs the doctor of John's skills. Emma informs her husband that the police are looking for him, at which point Bumstead bursts into the apartment. John tries to tell him everything, but seeing the policeman's distrust, runs away, losing Dr. Schreber's business card. John gets into a cab and asks for a ride to Shell Beach. The driver tells him that he spent his honeymoon there, but how to get there he can't remember. Meanwhile, John tracks down the doctor, and the policeman goes to see Walensky, who draws spirals on all the surfaces of the room. He tells Bumstead that he is trying to remember something from the past and can't. His wife is not his wife at all, and everything around here is a big hoax. John follows Dr. Schreber and sees an entrance door appear out of nowhere on a blank wall. The doctor enters the door, after which it disappears again. In the dungeon where Schreber descends, work is in progress. The Men in Black sort through all sorts of evidence of human life: diaries, photo albums, documents, and other personal things. Schreber receives a jar of smells that may awaken memories and mixes everything in one flask: fragments of an unhappy childhood, a bit of teenage rebellion, and finally the tragic death of a family. He is interrupted by the governor. Why doesn't Murdoch fall asleep like the others during the tuning? After all, it takes several lifetimes to gain their abilities. The moment of attunement arrives, 12 o'clock strikes, and all the people in town pass out. Except John. He rushes through the streets trying to wake someone up, but all in vain. A huge tuning machine comes into action, and before John's eyes, the city changes its outlines. Houses grow or fall, changing shape and content. The door appears on the wall again, and John watches the group that appears, carrying emotionless bodies. The people are carried to different places, and the doctor injects them all in the forehead. From a couple of laborers, the aliens make a rich family, turning the slum house into a luxurious mansion. John catches the doctor as soon as he is alone and tries to beat a confession out of him, and enraged, he throws him a few feet away. The doctor explains that John has alien powers and can change reality through the power of his will, and he will teach him how to manipulate this power to get his city back. Then John notices a new door and escapes, and the Man in Black grows up in front of the doctor. The adjustment is over, and the city awakens and lives on without noticing any change. Meanwhile, the governor is informed that Murdoch interfered with today's tune-up, which means he's much stronger than they thought. And to catch Murdoch, one of them takes in all his memories, which Schreber has manufactured. And John himself rereads the card again and suddenly remembers the name, Carl Harris. He finds his address in a telephone book. A newspaper clerk, whom John recognizes as the erstwhile porter, advises him to take the subway there. At this time, the Men in Black burst into the house of the call girl who had Murdoch. On the subway, John studies the traffic pattern and, finding Shell Beach, heads for the right branch. The Men in Black do not get what they want from the girl. She does not know where John is, and one of them stays behind to finish the job. John is advised to take the express train, but the train does not stop at this station. John is stunned, and then suddenly Walensky comes up to him. He explains that you can never get out of the city. He has seen people put other people's memories into them until they no longer understand who they are. True, there are glitches when someone doesn't fall asleep. He's one of them, and so is Murdoch. There is only one way out. With these words, the man throws himself under the train. And the Men in Black find Emma, with the receiver of John's memories speaking his words to her. Remembering the story of the available girl, she goes to her house and finds a mutilated corpse. Her hysteria is interrupted by Bumstead, who has been following her. At this time, John comes to a man who claims to be his uncle by the name of Carl and shows him old slides showing Murdoch as a child. All the pictures were taken at Shell Beach in the sunlight, but how to get there the uncle can't remember. And then John sees in his photos a huge scar that was left by the fire in which his parents died. But Murdoch himself has no such scar, which means it's someone else's story again. Meanwhile, Bumstead calls in experts, and Emma finds the daughter of the deceased, who was hiding under a table and saw what really happened in the room. Later, Emma sees a beautiful accordion in the inspector's car. The man says it was a gift from his late mother, but how he got the gift he does not remember. John tries to understand what time of day it is. Why is it always dark? He finds his sketchbook, in which, according to his uncle, he always drew something, but it's blank, which again raises questions. It's the tune-up time, when Uncle Carl calls Emma and she and Bumstead rush to his address while John leaves. But then 12 strikes and everyone but John passes out. Outside, Murdoch sees the aliens and tries to run away. The houses around him change and John struggles to get to the roof, where he encounters one of them. John grabs the alien and he confesses that they have created a city based on stolen memories because they want to become human but don't yet understand how. They alter people's memories every night, trying to figure out what makes people human. Everything was going fine, but Murdoch suddenly started affecting the world just like them. Then the alien breaks free and throws John away. John falls down but manages to grab the railing of the stairs. But the houses continue to shift. John manages to climb through the nearest window and his pursuer is smashed against the wall. But an alien child with a knife is on his trail. John jumps out the door and finds himself outside the house. He hangs high above the street as the enemy sinks his teeth into his arm. But then a pipe grows nearby, which Murdoch grabs to go up to the roof. The tune-up ends, the city comes to life, but John is surrounded by the aliens. And then he is picked up by the inspector's car, which brings him to prison. He is trying to prove to Bumstead that the woman was alive when he left, and is amazed to see the drawings of fish and sea in his sketchbook. John asks questions too, but Bumstead can't remember how to get to Shell Beach either. Nor can he remember when he saw the sun. John lifts the sketchbook into the air with the force of his gaze. How can this be explained? Later, Emma comes on a date and apologizes again for cheating, but her husband says that none of this ever happened. The woman admits that sometimes she feels that she does not know him at all, but nevertheless she loves him. John breaks the glass between them with his mind and kisses the woman. At this time, the aliens come to the prison and put everyone to sleep, but Murdoch is not in his cell. Freed by Bumstead, he goes to the doctor, and the doctor tells him the truth. They are all victims of an experiment. He has prepared a syringe, and if John receives the injection, he will know the whole truth. But then the inspector intervenes and offers to go to the ocean. But there is water splashing where the bridge used to be. Meanwhile, the aliens change Emma's memories. The men get into a boat, and on the way, Schreiber tells the story. First darkness descended, and then the strangers came. They kidnapped and brought people to this place. And then they began experiments, changing memories, family, friends, and personalities. All the while they watched the results. Would a person become a murderer, for example? Or is a person more than just a memory? The aliens think that they will find the soul if they learn how memory works, because their memories and minds are collective. Their race is on the brink of extinction, and they hope to be saved. But John has begun to resist, which means he can cope with their machine that changes the world with the power of thought. Schreiber was allowed to keep his skills as a scientist because he was needed as a tool, but the rest of his personality traits are just as obliterated. Nor does he remember where the people were brought from. The trio finally makes it to Shell Beach, but it turns out it's just a wall surrounding the town. Murdoch and Bumstead break down the wall that reveals space? The stunned men are hailed by the aliens. Now they know the truth. The inspector starts a fight with one of them, and the pair fall through the opening. It becomes apparent that the town is located on a flat platform flying in outer space. John is ready to fight, but sees Emma in the hands of the enemy and surrenders at the mercy of the victor. He obeys the orders, falls asleep, and finds himself surrounded by aliens who demand to kill him. But the aliens' ruler urges them to merge their minds with his. Perhaps this will help them become human. And then the doctor intervenes, injecting his own memories instead of injecting the collective memory. The doctor puts himself into them to tell him the whole truth about the strangers. John remembers everything and wins because he can handle the alien machine. John comes to his senses and the aliens scatter in terror at the sight of him. The ruler enters the duel, space itself plummets between them, walls fly apart, aliens die, but no one can win. The battle breaks out, the city begins to burn, and the two opponents take to the air, continuing the fight. And then the alien throws a dagger at John and it almost reaches its target, but at Murdoch's mental command it turns around and strikes the ruler himself. The apocalypse ends and the doctor congratulates John on his victory. He now controls their machine. True, Emma is no longer the Emma. Her memory has been altered and the laboratory has been destroyed. But now John has the opportunity to create his own world, which is what he does. He adds water and turns the flying disc toward the sun. Anna wakes up in the checkout room, gets dressed and takes the bus to Shell Beach. And John finds the alien who has taken his memory. He dies and wants to find out what it's like to feel after all. And John regrets it, they were looking in the wrong place. The sun rises over the city. Murdoch opens the door and sees the ocean and a girl on the pier. This time her name is Anna and she has very different memories, but they go to Shell Beach together. Overall, the movie is pretty good, both in its basic idea and in its execution. It's twisted, mysterious, and dark. And despite the fact that it was made more than 20 years ago, it looks no worse than modern films.